Commissioner Andy Batts on the Larry Young Morning Show, folks. Let's see if we can go in there and say hi or wave or do something. Let's listen. Commissioner.
Yeah, I think any time, and even talking now, sending chills to my body when you lose a young life unnecessarily in our city. It is a sad occasion, and it's not something that's put on. It's what I feel. This is why I've been doing this for 33 years. You know, I share with people, you know, growing up as a black kid in South Central LA, wondering if anybody cared about my life and if I was going to succeed or not. Excuse me. And as I move forward in life, that's what I kind of focus on, is doing everything I can to make sure that young kids have hope. I can tell you, the week before last, I was in the hospital. There was a guy who ran into a family that were in their van on the eastern portion of our city. And it was a mom and her two kids, one 12, one 5, and a 12-year-old who was a young girl lost her life. And I came in and I went to the scene there, and then I went to the hospital. And I was outside of the room when the mom heard the news that her daughter had passed. And I don't think there's anything that hits you more than losing your child at any given point in time. But any loss of life, and especially the babies in our community, is just horrific and unnecessary.
Well, we've got a couple of things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the public safety forums that you and the mayor are conducting around the district police stations. But let's look at what's happening with the youth curfew. That's a big one for us. And one of the things that I'm so proud about is that, and we need to get more information, this is not a criminal justice situation.
Right. I think pros or cons, you know, people support or don't support curfews. And to start off, first of all, is curfew, the statement itself is a misnomer. One street at a certain time. You know, I kind of come from the background being raised by Southern parents. Is that when that sun went down, I don't know about you, Larry, but when you were when that sun went down, you better have your posterior in the house. And if not, you had a price to pay. I think taken from that concept, this is what we're moving with.
Commissioner Andy Batts,
there's too many times where we have babies that are impacted because they're out on the street late at night. One of the things that I see is not holding the children captive, is protecting them. And that's how I want to go forth with this. And this is what Councilman Brandon Scott, who introduced it, says the same thing. I heard him speak on it last week, and that's exactly what he was getting across. I think how he put it was that this is going old school for him, which is the same concept of when it started, kids need to be around their home. If you're out on the street, and I've seen this when I've gone out on the street.
Talking about the curfew is supposed to be in effect in about another month and a half.
School night, that's telling you that's a pretty clear indication that child's not going to school. It's very difficult for them to get up early in the morning if they're out at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And what is it for a 12-year-old or 10-year-old to be doing out on the street at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on any night, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, or Monday or Wednesday? So part of what we're doing is identifying the children, take them down to one of the centers, and having the centers call the parents, and using that contact as a way of bringing the family in and sitting the family down and start working with the families to make sure that you prop the families up to get us to the level of success. Because what this really is all about is, number one, keeping the children safe, number one. Number two is making sure that they get to school, and that's their greatest provider of hope is being in school. We have more of a chance of succeeding as residents, family of the city if we're in school. And three, just making sure that families have the support if they want the support and they're looking for support, that they actually have that. So I think it's a positive. It also means with the older kids, it doesn't mean that they can't be out on the street. What it means is that they have to be in motion going somewhere. Like if you were coming home from, you had a job and you were coming home, do you have the right to be on the street when you're coming from the job? Yes, you do. And we're not going to take you in because you left your job at, let's say, at a restaurant and you're going home. Can you be going to a party? Yes, you can go to a party and we won't stop you from going from point A to point B. But really what we're looking at is if you have people standing in front of liquor stores for an inordinate amount of time and you're past a curfew, first of all, what I want the officers to do is ask them to go home, is really what I want them to do. If they don't comply with that, then we'll take them down to the center again, bring the parents down.
And that was one of the things I was going to ask. What will be said to the officers, because I think how they handle the situation is going to go a long way towards the success of this. And now we're nationally acclaimed as being the city with the strongest youth curfew. All of the stakeholders in this have to find a way to make sure this works.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what that means, that we have the strongest curfew in the nation. I wonder where they get that from. And
say hi because
I guess
the door locked.
That for the little kids who are under 12, they have to be in by 9 o'clock. I think that is the concern, because I know when I was on the West Coast, the vast majority of all the cities on the West Coast, there's a 10 p.m. curfew. So, and that's 7 days a week. So that's pretty stringent also. There again, we're going to put out training that goes out to the officers.
Commissioner Andy Banks, Radio 1.
We want to make this not the first tool of resort, but the last tool of resort. There again, it is there from my perspective, and I'll share with the number of things we're dealing with the youth today to try to have that interaction be positive and not negative. We're going through even issues with the Inner Harbor, because the Inner Harbor has been an issue with young people not having anything to do coming down to the Inner Harbor, and they have the right to do that. They should be able to come down to the Inner Harbor. What we're doing now is we're passing out when anybody comes down, young or old, come down to the Inner Harbor, expectations of conduct when you're down there. You have a right to be down there. We expect you to be down there. We want you to have fun. But you don't have the right to impact other people's civil rights. You don't have the right to strike people, push them down, or do any of the other things. Otherwise, we're going to enjoy you being down there. And what we've done is we put together a youth group. And we're sitting down with the young people, and I just sat down with them last week. And it's a group of young people anywhere from 25 to 40, and we're asking them, what do you guys need to have a positive? 25 to 40 kids, not age groups. That still would be a kid that are my age.
I got you. Yes, sir.
We are asking them, what is it that we can do to make sure that your visit down there is a positive one, and at the same time that other people have positive visits also. So we're having a positive interaction with the young people that are down there. We're dealing with the same group dealing with conflict resolution tactics that we're talking about, that also deals with the high school. Coach, how you doing? It's good to hear you, sir.
Cool.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for coming in and taking Q&A. Let me just shift gears for a second. The tasing incident, and I said then, and
you're talking about the hospital?
Yes, yeah. And I said then, and
tasing hospital.
It was a big topic with a lot of our callers calling in. Tasing, using the taser can be, in one case, a better alternative, certainly, than a firearm. However, I've also said that the officer could, because it is a taser, may use that too readily than he or she would a firearm. Talk about that. Talk about the procedure of using that.
Well, I'm going to stay away from the specific hospital incident itself, because I think it's probably going to be a suit.
You want to stay away from hospital incident?
But I think there's some pieces to that case that, and I'll use hypothetical situations, which has caused a larger conversation. We just met with the security chiefs of staff for a number of the hospitals in areas last Friday, and asking what is the role of police officers when they're called to hospitals. If you have a regular incident that occurs at a hospital, a normal emergency, someone in the emergency room who's fighting, someone who pulls a weapon, someone who hits someone, that's really easy. We handle those situations no differently than we handle a situation that's out on the street or any other community. We will respond rapidly, so we won't change that at all. But if you have a patient, hypothetically, in a situation who has been admitted and had been there for a while, what is the role of police officers when they're called into that particular situation? That's the question that I ask. If a patient doesn't want to take their medication, are we the correct tool to go in to address that situation at all? So one, we're ferreting that out, and we're coming up with protocols for the hospital, and the security directors understand exactly what we're talking about. We're on the right page. Also, later this month, I'm meeting with most of the CEOs of the hospitals in the Maryland, Baltimore area, to make sure that we have a understanding that we're working together in a good partnership. and making sure that the police department or police officers are the right tools to use at the right time in those circumstances, that some law has been broken and that we have the constitutional right to even put our hands on anyone at any given point in time. Tasers themselves, I think we are coming out with a very strict policy. The police department has had tasers here since 2007. They have had a policy since 2007. In December, I had the policy redone, all of our policies dealing with force redone. The current one is actually double reviewed in our legal department to make sure that we have all the proper protocols that are in there. Within that taser policy, we talk about overuse and not using tasers too much and not using any tactic. If a tactic's not working, you don't stick with it and you continue to use it. You have to go to another tactic. Also, that you don't tase young people, that you don't tase elderly people,
You
you don't
think he's
tase
gonna talk
people
about
who
when
are
he hit that guy in the
frail,
face
people who
and
are up
took
on
the
heights
gun?
and may fall. So our policy is
Let's talk about
taken
that,
from the best
Coach.
practices
Larry.
in the United States. We've gone to the International Association of Chiefs of Police Executive Research Forum, and Major City Chiefs, and taken all of their policies and reviewed their policies. We've also gone back and looked at some of the things that other police agencies have learned from the misuse of tasers, and our policy will be pretty strong and pretty proactive based on best standards.
Yeah, I think that the key issue here from a lot of our listeners who called in was the misuse of the tasers. Reportedly, it was used 5 times. And, you know, I made the statement, if that were the case, then you might as well pull out your firearm and shoot the person. So that was the issue, the overuse or the reportedly overuse of the tasing.
Well, Coach, part of what we have to ask, and we have to be careful on how we label things as the misuse or overuse, and we don't know that for a fact. That's an opinion. The manufacturer says that you can use a taser up to 4 or 5 times. I'm not so sure on my policy that I'll even go that high. I'll probably make it even lower, then we'll readjust.
Well, my customer coming, so we can't get too nitty-gritty of this. Until next time, folks.
I don't know, because I know you don't know, because I don't know the circumstances that took place.